January transfer window is officially closed and Tottenham were one of the more active clubs across the winter window with plenty of incomings and shipping loads of players out as well. So I just wanted to sit down and do a video rating the transfer window. I'm going to go through each player, the incomings and the outgoings, and sort of give an overall rating that we are going to the rest of the season with our squad locked in. Nobody else can come in, and the fact that we've managed to get some players out. So I'm going to fly straight into it. I'll go through the incomings first of all. So there were 3 incomings at Spurs in the month of January. The first one being Timo Werner, who joined on loan from RB Leipzig until the end of the season. Now his deal was a relatively risk-free one because it includes an option to buy, not an obligation to buy at the end of the season. Having said that, over the first 2 or 3 appearances that he's made for Spurs, I think he's been good value so far. I think he's been impressive. I think he played really well against Brentford. What I've seen so far, it's a really good signing and a really good piece of business by Spurs, and a good sense of what Ange Postecoglou wants from his players. He's brought Timo Werner in, and like Richarlison, really, he's someone that runs and runs and he puts his all in, and even if he's a little bit raw and his quality may not be at the level that you maybe want it to be, he still shows glimpses, and I think Timo Werner's done that in the first couple of games for Spurs. He's excellent at beating his man. He's got so much pace and playing out wide. He's good at getting past his man and delivering across, and we saw that on more than one occasion against Brentford in the week. So yeah, for that as a first incoming and for it to be a relatively risk-free deal with the option to sign him for quite cheap in the summer, I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10 for the first incoming. Now, moving on to the next incoming for Spurs, Radu Dragushin, the centre-back who joined from Genoa in a deal that cost Spurs around £25 million. It actually ended up being the most expensive deal made by a Premier League club in the month of January, which is absolutely crazy. When you think about last year, you had Chelsea splashing out almost £100 million on certain players. I think Enzo Fernandez was last January. And overall, the Premier League spent £800 million on players in January in 2023, and this year it was just over 100 million. And like I said, Radu Dragushin was the most expensive signing of the January window, joining Spurs as some added depth and some competition for both Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven. It's very difficult to rate him based off the first couple of games because he's only come on for short cameos, but I do think that he has looked quite assured, quite calm, collected, and like he's going to fit in quite well. I mean, a lot of people rate him so highly that they suggest that Spurs should move to a 3 at the back with Romero, Dragushin and Van der Ven all playing. I wouldn't go that far myself personally, but I do think in the long term it's going to be an excellent signing. Overall, I'm also going to give that an 8 out of 10 and hope that he can be a really important player for Spurs in the future. Final incoming for Spurs in January was Lucas Bergvall from the Swedish league. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name. Now, I did do an entire separate video on him and the deal surrounding the young, now turned 18-year-old midfielder who was close to joining Barcelona but changed his mind and joined Spurs as well. Naturally, I think, like most people, I've only seen a few highlight reels of him. I haven't actually watched any live games of him playing, but he does look like he could blossom into a superb talent, one of the most highly rated youngsters in Europe. He's not come in officially until the summer, so he's staying in Sweden for the next 6 months, and then he should hopefully go on the pre-season tour with Spurs, and we'll see a little bit more and know about him. For now, I think I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10 for that incoming, because we don't really know too much about him, but we do know that he is highly rated. Overall, I'm going to push the incomings to an 8 out of 10. I think we've addressed the key areas that we needed to in defence and another attacker. However, to make it a 9 or a 10 out of 10, we needed to bring in another central midfielder. There was the rumours of Højbjerg going, and then we also had the Conor Gallagher rumours about was he going to come to Spurs. But the fact that there was no movement there stops it being the perfect window, in my opinion. The outgoings, and there were loads of outgoings for Spurs this month, so I'm going to rattle through them really quickly. The first one was Hugo Lloris, legend of the club, leaving after I think nearly 11, 12 years, due a testimonial at some point. Absolutely sensational servant for the club. For him, I think it's a 10 out of 10 deal for him. You know, he's moving over to America. He's earning good money over there. He's left Spurs for free on good terms, a club legend. What else can you say about that, really? Eric Dyer moved to Bayern Munich in January. Yes, I know it still sounds really weird saying it, but he did. He linked up with Harry Kane and the German champions, moving on a fee that I think was less than 5 million in the end. Again, I think it was a good outgoing for Spurs because we needed to get him off the books. At some point, he was going to leave. I believe that he was out of contract in the summer anyway, so he just would have left for nothing. But yeah, maybe you could have got a bit more money for him, perhaps. I know, you know, some people might say that, but the fact that he's just gone, I'd rate that at about a 7 out of 10. Sergio Reguilon went on loan after his loan being terminated at Manchester United after 6 months. He came back to the Spurs very briefly before then going out to Brentford on loan until the end of the season. It's a bit of a weird one with Reggie because it's not really worked out for him at Spurs. He lacked a bit of quality, and when you compare him to Destiny Udogie and watching him and how he's played since arriving from Serie A, it's just there's such a difference in the quality between the two players. So I'll rate that at like a 5 out of 10 just because it might have been better to get him out on a permanent deal this month. If Japhet Tanganga was also recalled from his loan at Augsburg in Germany, I don't think he made a single appearance over there. But again, he's gone straight back out to Millwall on loan in the Championship. Hopefully he gets some minutes. There's not too much to say about that. I'd rate it as a 6 out of 10 move for him. Ivan Perisic has officially left the club. He's left on a 6-month loan deal to Split in his home country of Croatia, but he will be out of contract in the summer. And this is the most sad outgoing for me this month because I really, really like Ivan Perisic. I think he's a brilliant player on his day, still going at his age. And the few times that he came off the bench for Spurs when Ange first arrived, he looked really good and like he could be similar to Højbjerg, a game changer off the bench. But, you know, after doing his knee injury that's keeping him out for the majority of the season, and with him, he was going to leave in the summer for free regardless, it made sense for him to go early. That way, if he recovers, he can still play a few games for Split towards the end of the season. For him, he's going home. He's towards the end of his career now. 8 out of 10 move for him, and happy for him and wish him all the best. Alejo Veliz has gone to Sevilla, been given the number 10 shirt, and is going to be linking up with Eric Lamela in Spain. If that's not a 10 out of 10 outgoing for him, I don't know what is. Obviously, he had a bit of an injury as well over the last couple of months. He's on the verge of being back from that injury, and Sevilla have snapped him up on a loan with no option to buy, so he will be back at Spurs at the end of the year. And I think that's great. But hopefully the fact that Sevilla have given him the number 10, that will mean that he's going to be used quite a lot over there and he's going to get some really valuable game time in a top division. So 10 out of 10 for me, that outgoing. The last two I'll group together, and that is the duo of Ashley Phillips and Alfie Devine, both going to Plymouth. Good moves for them, taking a slight step down, but I think that it will be really good for their development, playing in the EFL, getting to grips with the level. And they've both started really well from the feedback and the things that I've seen on Twitter. They've been impressive, and hopefully Plymouth do well towards the end of the season. I'll give them a 7 or 8 out of 10 for those. So that is my short/medium review of Tottenham's January transfer window. Some good incomings, like I said, and a lot of deadwood shipped out and a few loans chucked in there as well. So overall, the window's been an 8 out of 10 for me. A lot of games left to play in the season, and then there's areas to address in the summer, like there always is. So we'll see how that one goes. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Please subscribe. I'm closing in on 200 subscribers, which would be awesome. And yeah, like I said, subscribe, leave a comment. How would you rate the transfer window for Spurs in January? And yeah, I will see you in the next one and catch you in a bit. Peace.